Okay, let's see how these dictionaries perform using the container operations that we've used in the past with the other containers. Well, in the past meaning last week. Last week we looked at lists, sets, and tuples, and I showed you how similar they are in some respects. For example, we can get the len of any of the containers. We can for loop over any containers. Right, loop with for. We can use the in membership test. We can use the sorted function to sort. And we've also done things like min, max, and sum. Now, what I want to show you, and I'm going to not emphasize these last three, and I'll explain why in a second. But what I'm going to show you is what happens when we use a dictionary using these familiar functions. Again, part of the elegance of Python is that you can take any similar object and use the same operation with it as another similar object, and it should behave in the same way. And we saw that that was true with len, looping with for, and in membership, and the use of sorted. Remember, with each one of those containers, the list, the set, the tuple, they all behave in the same way. We get the number of items in the list, set, or tuple with len. With for, we get to look at each item and iterate over each item in the container with for. With in membership, we were able to check to see if an item is in the container. We use that predominantly with sets, but it works with tuples and lists as well. And then sorted. Sorted always gave us back a list of sorted items. So now let's see how the dictionary fares. All right, so I've now gone ahead and added the first three of the summary functions that I wanted to talk about that we can use with other containers. As you know, len gets us the length of a list. So you might be able to guess what I'm going to see if I try to get the len of xdict. Obviously, you're thinking it's either going to be 3 or 6. I'm not sure what you think it might be, but we're going to see it in a second. Sorted. What would we get back with sorted? That's another good question. And as we loop through xdict, what are we going to see? So you can take a guess if you'd like. But let's see what happens now. I'm going to give it a run. Okay, interesting. So for len, I saw a 3. And that makes sense since there are 3 pairs in the dictionary. Yes, there are 6 objects contained in the dictionary, but we think about a dictionary as made up of pairs. So it makes sense that the len of xdict should be 3. What about the next one, sorted? Oh, I'm seeing A, B, and C. You know, I should probably change these a little bit so that we can, get a slightly different result and run that again. Okay, so I'm seeing 3 for len, and then for sorted, I'm seeing C, X, and Z. Can you see what happened? Sorted went ahead and sorted my keys in string order. C, then X, then Z. So that's what I am seeing when I attempt to sort a dictionary. In other words, it sorted the keys. All right, now let's look at looping. C, Z, X, and C. So this time the keys came out in the regular dictionary order, but we're seeing each key. So item is actually a key. So when we loop through any of these, or when we apply any of these summary functions, we're finding that, aside from len, which seems to just refer to pairs, what we're seeing is each key, or we're seeing sorted list of keys. What this indicates is that a dictionary is really all about the keys. That's what matters in a dictionary. The values are still there, but what's really important is the keys. Why are they important? Because remember the one-way lookup that I talked about in the last video. If you want to get the value for Z, you can use a subscript to get the value for Z. We can print the value for Z by using the subscript. The subscript is going to get us the value. You can't do that with 100. You can only do it with the unique key in the dictionary. So the lesson here is that everything in a dictionary has to do with its keys. We use keys to look up values. We see keys when we sort the dictionary. And when we loop through the dictionary, we also just see the keys. As far as looping through the entire dictionary and seeing everything that's in it, consider that if we loop through the keys and we have the key in front of us, we should be able to print the value as well, because as you know, we're looking at a lookup table. That lookup table allows us to look up a value based on a key. So it makes sense that when you loop through a dictionary, you're seeing each key, because as you see each key, you can use the key to get the value. That's why we're seeing Z and then 100, X and then 2, C and then 105. This is because that's what's in the dictionary, that when we ask the dictionary for information, it's going to give us a key. And if we ask for a specific key, we're going to get back the value, as we're doing here on line 11. Now, it's fairly important that you're clear on this concept, that dictionaries start and end with keys. They're all about the keys, and that if you have the key, you can get the value. So look at line 10 and 11 and understand that this is the way we loop through and then see every item that's in the dictionary, including both the keys and the values. We loop through the dictionary gives us each key, and then with that key we can get the value, which is what we're doing on line 11. The print statement says print the key from the dictionary, which would be, let's say, Z, and then after the colon, print the value for Z. So you see Z is a 100, X is 2, and by the way, I don't need a semicolon here. I could use a vertical bar, whatever I'd like here. The value for key Z is 100, the value for key X is 2, and the value for key C is 105. Now let me see if I can get a speculative answer to a question. Here's the question. Based on what we've just learned, based on the fact that dictionaries work predominantly with keys, and that when we look things up in the dictionary, unless we already have a key, we're going to get the keys. In other words, sorted sorts the keys. For looping loops over the keys. Here's the question. Which one of these statements would be correct? If Z in dict, print Z is there, or if 100 in dict, print 100 is there, or both. Would both of them be true? Would one of them be true? Now, you're not expected to know this, and you wouldn't know this, but that is the question. Based on what we've talked about, based on the fact that in checks for a key, looping over with 4 loops over each key, sorted returns the keys. You tell me if the statement on line 6 or line 9 will be true, or would it both be true? Well, it's a reasonable guess to think that 100 in dict might be true, but no, this would be false. Why? This is true for sure. Why would 100 in dict be false? I mean, after all, 100 is in there. Because when we're asking the dictionary for information, unless we already have a key, we're going to be working with the keys. That's the overall concept here. When working with any summary function, and I'm calling it a summary function or operator, I'm really referring to what you're seeing above, len, looping with 4, in membership, or sorted. When working with any of these things, we're working with the keys. The only time that we're not working with the keys is when we're actually querying the dict for a value based on a key. If we already have the key, we'll get back the value, and that's fine. That's how dictionaries are supposed to work. You look up values based on keys. But when you're looping, when you're using sorted, when you are checking for in membership, you're always talking about the keys. And that's how that works. Now, sometimes students will ask whether or not it's possible to search for 100 in the dictionary. And yes, you can do it because you can loop through the whole dictionary. And don't forget, for key and xdict, value equals xdict subscript key. Looking up value for key. Again, it's all about the keys. So when we loop through the dictionary, we're looping through Z, X, and C. And when we want to get the value for any one of those keys, then we use the subscript syntax. So here I can print key and value, and I should see all of the key value pairs when I do that.